Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Yeah, I Said It. As always, the program is hosted by yours truly, Lance Williams. Before we jump into the program, want to give a big shout out to the editor in chief of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. My friend and co-host of The Standard is The Standard and the Homer and the Haters Show. Want to give a big shout out to Jeff Hartman. Also want to give out a big shout out to the oracle of the website, Dave Schofield. Also, big shout out to Brian Anthony Davis, who's bad. And also a big shout out to Tony Defio. Before we start in the program, I ask one thing. If you're in the live chat, please make sure you hit us with the like. So we have 11 people to start the live chat. Let's get a 1-for-1. Let's get 11 people in the live chat and 11 likes. So let's hit the like button. I want to make sure everybody in Steeler Nation that's checking out this program is being socially responsible and practicing social distancing. The worst thing that you would want to do would be a member of the nation and give it to another member of the nation. So let's make sure Steeler Nation takes care of each other and let's do our necessary things that we need to do in terms of social distancing. So also you can help out the program by hitting us with a like as well as subscribing to the program. And if you have a particular question that you want to get to the top of the queue, make sure you hit the super chat feature in the bottom right hand corner. It's the $sign, and we welcome all contributions. If there is a contribution, we will jump to your question immediately. So before I start the program, want to give a big shout out to Snowman, Knight Rider 16, Robert Sasovitz, and Snowman. Robert Sasovitz sounds like a new name in the live chat, so I want to welcome him to the program and big up to all of you. So the title of this program is simply QB depth is the Steelers' biggest weakness. Now, if you've heard me do this show last week, part of the show last week was me teasing the Pittsburgh Steelers have or saying that the Pittsburgh Steelers should have some interest in Jameis Winston. Now, the reason I said that, it was in context to the topic of this particular program, which is QB depth is the Steelers' biggest weakness. Because like last year, if Ben gets hurt, the season's over. And for all of the positive moves that Colbert has made this year in free agency, and I'm even starting to warm to the Derek Watt move. I'm even starting to warm to that. And for all of the positive moves that he made in free agency with Watt, with Wisniewski, with Ebron, the trade for Wormley, the one position that has not been addressed in free agency is the quarterback position. Now, with Ben Roethlisberger coming off of a season-ending elbow injury, you have Mason Rudolph and Devlin Duck Hodges. In my thoughts, it's irresponsible for the Pittsburgh Steelers to not address the quarterback position. Now, and I also feel like it's irresponsible for the Steelers to, in fact, double down on the fact that the quarterback room is okay. And what happened as a result of last year not having a quality backup is that the Pittsburgh Steelers wasted one of the best defensive performances that they've had as a team in the Tomlin era and over the last 25 years. Mason Rudolph simply is not that guy. He is not the future. And in my opinion, he's a below average quarterback and a below average backup in turn. Now, if you look at his performance last year, they did go 5-3 in the games that he started. But can anybody really think to themselves that the Steelers were winning those games as a result of Mason Rudolph's play? No, they weren't. They were winning those games because the Steelers defense was balling out and making ridiculous plays. And that's not sustainable. You can't sustain that level of defense that they played to be able to win games. And like Faceless Man said, it was the defense. And to Wes Hickok, big up to you. Thanks for asking about the grandson. He's doing fantastic, getting bigger every day, starting to eat solid foods. So he's doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. But it was the defense. It was absolutely the defense. The defense balled out. I mean, and you can't expect a defense to play to that standard. Let's just use the word standard. They played beyond the standard. So if the standard is the standard, the defense was playing beyond the standard for the Steelers to win 5 games with Mason Rudolph as the starter. Let's not even talk about Devlin Duck Hodges. Devlin Duck Hodges is not good enough to play in the National Football League. I think that was proven over the last stretch of games that he started. So for me, the quarterback issue and the quarterback room and the lack of depth is absolutely the biggest issue. I mean, again, you have Ben Roethlisberger coming off of a season-ending elbow surgery, and you have him being backed up by Mason Rudolph and Devlin Duck Hodges. Let me give you some of Mason's numbers. His completion percentage was 62%. That's serviceable. Through 13 TDs with 9 interceptions. That you can't do that. His yards per attempt was 6.2, which is extremely low, and his adjusted yards per attempt was 5.7, meaning he could not push the ball downfield because he can't process the field, and he wouldn't cut it loose because he couldn't process the field, and he was a sitting duck literally in the pocket. He would not move in the pocket. He would invite pressure. He would overreact to pressure. He just was not good, and he's a young player. I get that. But in Ben Roethlisberger's potential last 2 years, why would you just play with the Steelers season in such a way by not having a quality backup? It is imperative that the Steelers try to win a Super Bowl in these next 2 years while they still have Ben Roethlisberger under contract. Without Ben under contract, they don't have an option. Now, Robert Sanzovitz says experienced backups don't come cheap enough for us. But what's more expensive? Trying to restructure more contracts to create the cap space to get a veteran or to lose out another season because you don't have a veteran quarterback. I think everybody in Steeler Nation would be, look, man, let's restructure some more contracts to create cap space to get a quality backup. There is no way in the world that Mason Rudolph will win 5 games next year. There is no way in the world. If he has to play 8 games next year, the season is over. So let's say Ben comes back and he gets hurt, or he's not the player that he was, and you don't have a quality backup. Guess what? In 2021, his cap hit is $41.5 million. And all of a sudden, you're in rebuild mode immediately. You're in rebuild mode immediately, and then you would be looking at the prospect of having Mason Rudolph as your every down starter. If Mason Rudolph's your every down starter, you might as well just tank and try to get Trevor Lawrence, or maybe Trevor Lawrence will already be in the draft by next year. Now, looking at the comment from Dragon JZ, I say see if Cam is willing to swallow some pride and be a backup for a season and potentially get a ring. I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, the reason why I don't know if it's going to happen for Jameis or for Cam, one is cap space. Cap space is an issue. I don't know if these guys are going to want to play for that amount of money. Number 2, you still have an option in San Diego. San Diego has Tyrod Taylor as the potential starter. I don't know if they are sold on that. And if Jameis could go there, maybe that happens. Maybe I could see Cam or Jameis Winston going to Jacksonville. Jacksonville has an opening at the quarterback position. I don't know if Gardner Minshew is the guy that they want to move forward with. But speaking of Gardner Minshew, I'm just going to go over the names of some backup quarterbacks. And, maybe you guys can chime in the live chat if you think I'm right or wrong when it comes to this. And Mark Tobin is correct. Pat Mahomes aren't just sitting around on a tree. That's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Absolutely is. But what you can do is you can mitigate your issues at the quarterback position by getting more quality depth. And there are some veterans out there. I mean, Case Keenum was an example. What did Cleveland do? They went and got Case Keenum. And Case Keenum is one of the names. I would dare you to say that if you don't think Case Keenum is better than Mason Rudolph or Devlin Duck Hodges, something's wrong with you. Let me just name some of the guys here. Gardner Minshew, Blake Bortles, Matt Moore, Brian Hoyer, Teddy Bridgewater was a backup till he got the contract. Tyrod Taylor in San Diego. Case Keenum. Now we're going to just look at the division. Case Keenum is better than any of the Steelers' backups. Andy Dalton is a backup. Now, presumably Andy Dalton will get traded, but as of this podcast, Andy Dalton is a Bengal. We're going to assume that they take Joe Burrow. Burrow's the starter, Dalton's the backup. You think Andy Dalton is better than Mason Rudolph or Devlin Duck Hodges? And I know Andy Dalton is still under contract. He could never be there, never be a Steeler. But what I'm just saying is the quality of backups, even in the division, the AFC North, are better than what the Steelers could put out on the field. And RG3, in my opinion, is better than Mason Rudolph and Devlin Duck Hodges. I mean, in fact, RG3 didn't play a great game against the Steelers in the last game, but he played well enough to beat the Steelers. So, even with Knight Rider 16 would say, with Nick Foles as a backup in Philadelphia. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm talking about like the case with Teddy Bridgewater in New Orleans. The Steelers cannot afford to have another season lost if Ben Roethlisberger gets hurt. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is not 29. He's not 32. He's not 33, in fact. You don't have many more years. So you can't lose those years because you don't have a quality backup in your quarterback room. And they do not. And 98671X, I didn't even read Jacoby Brissett, but Jacoby Brissett is another name. That Jacoby Brissett is the backup to Phillip Rivers. That's a solid quarterback room. You've got Phillip Rivers, you got Jacoby Brissett. You know Jacoby Brissett can go out there and win football games if he is healthy. Mason Rudolph is not a quality player. Devlin Duck Hodges is not a quality player. And you can't tell me that it's logical or that you feel comfortable going into your new season with those two dudes as your backups with a old quarterback coming off of an arm injury. That's just irresponsible. I mean, that's absolutely irresponsible. That's like spending up all of your savings knowing you're going to get laid off in 60 days. That just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to roll the dice like that. I know that they're saying that they're confident in Mason Rudolph and so on and so forth. I just don't know how they can be. Joe Flacco is another guy out there. Big up to Leonardo Torres for putting that out there. I did see that Flacco is out there. Flacco is another guy that's out there. I would rather have a Flacco on a cheap deal than Mason Rudolph. Get rid of Devlin Duck Hodges, bump Mason Rudolph to the number 3 position. Hell, sign Joe Flacco for a 1-year deal to be a backup. Do I think Joe Flacco is the future quarterback for the Steelers? Of course not. But I would have way more confidence in Joe Flacco as a backup than I would Devlin Duck Hodges or Mason Rudolph. And I want to say big up to Jake Sanchez for the super chat. Jake, if you got a question, make sure you ask me a question for the $5 super chat. But thank you for that. And also looking at the likes, they're starting to outpace it. So let's make sure we hit the like button. We've got 45 people in the live chat. Make sure you guys hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the program, make sure you subscribe. So I like everything that Colbert has done. I'll even change my tune on the Derek Watt signing. I think that Colbert has done a fantastic job in free agency, because even when it comes to Derek Watt, I don't like the allocation of assets to a fullback, but he does provide a need for the Steelers. He's providing 2 positional needs for the money, at least. Special teams captain and a fullback. From what I'm starting to read more and more, that he has the ability to catch the football. So, and he's not breaking the bank. He probably represents, less than 1% of the cap, probably about 0.5% of the, probably about 1% of the cap, 1.5% of the cap, something like that. You guys can do the math, but he's cheap relative to the cap. So even with that signing, I love the Ebron signing. I love the Wisniewski signing. Wormley is a body that could start at the nose tackle position, plug up guys so you can play well in the run. So I think what Colbert has done in free agency has been fantastic, particularly in regards to opening the Steelers draft up so they can draft any particular player in any of these rounds, because there's no pressing need, because they were addressed in free agency, except the quarterback position. If Ben gets hurt, They are sunk. You cannot waste any more years with Ben Roethlisberger because if Ben gets hurt, they're sunk. And next year, you go into the question of he's coming off of multiple seasons with injury and he counts $41.5 million on the cap. You can't do that. And to Justin Conway's point, with the limited cap space can always be created. There are always ways to create cap space. I mean, we were complaining about the level of cap space that the Steelers had a couple of weeks ago, and they signed 3 free agents. They signed like 4 free agents. They brought back Dangerfield, and they brought the XFL guys in. So you can make money. It's just accounting. It's whether you want to push money more towards the future. As long as there was a new CBA, the Steelers would have an avenue to create cap space. Ian Whetstone did a fantastic job a couple of weeks ago when we did a show of breaking that down. So cap space is not an issue. It's an oversight, in my opinion. It is irresponsible, in my opinion. And it's downright hubris, in my opinion, to put the season of the Steelers in peril because you don't have a quality backup. Now, I could be wrong about Mason Rudolph, but there's nothing on film that I saw last year that would suggest he's that guy. And so deal with it. Said, I feel you, Lance. The problem I'm having is Colbert, like you said yourself, has done great. And so I got to trust his judgment on this as well. He can't be too brilliant and such an idiot all at once, but you can be. Let me just riddle me this. How many guys and women do you know that are brilliant in one thing but not in another? That they just have a gap in terms of just how they think when it comes to certain things. Like he could be absolutely brilliant in evaluating particular parts of the roster, but not others. I mean, the Steelers have struggled getting inside linebackers. I mean, they've had some bad luck as well. The Steelers struggle with drafting secondary people and cornerbacks specifically, but they do fantastic with wide receivers. So it is possibly for Colbert to be fantastic in one regard, but not good in another. And Colbert has put this season in jeopardy by trusting a 38-year-old quarterback with a surgically repaired arm and bad backups. That just don't make no damn sense. I'm going to just flat out say it. That don't make no damn sense. And see, I'm trying to change my tone. I'm trying to be warm and fuzzy. I'm trying to be more like Joy. I'm trying to be like Jeff. I'm trying to come into the season with joy and passion and love and feel really excited about the season. But I can't get over the hump because I got an old dude with a big beard that got a bionically repaired arm and 2 bums behind him. I just can't be super excited about that. Man, like Ezra said, Colbert, Tomlin, and Ben on their last leg, foot out the door. They will draft to win in all this year. And I'm down with that thinking. And I agree with that. They got to be all in. Because that's another great point. And we've talked about it, me and Jeff. I've talked about it on shows. You got to be all in right now. And because you've got to be all in, you've got to improve the quarterback depth. Because again, quarterback depth is the Steelers' biggest weakness. Now, some of you might point to the outside linebacker position or inside linebacker position, but I don't. They're spotty at some other areas. And the reason I don't say those other areas is because they're not as important as the quarterback position. And yes, Colbert did draft Roethlisberger. Yes, he did. But look, that was a long time ago. None of that matters this year if Roethlisberger gets hurt. So because he drafted Roethlisberger, I mean, maybe you can find another one. Maybe you can find a guy that's maybe not another one, but you can find somebody better than Mason Rudolph. Come on, we've seen Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph is not the dude. I mean, he is not the dude. He's a pretty face that gets beat up against the Browns and plays bad football consistently. He's not the guy. I mean, I just don't feel as warm and fuzzy about this season with those 2 bums backing up Ben, especially with Ben coming back off of a bum arm. I just don't feel comfortable with it. But let me switch topics. Let me go to a lighter set of topics. And I saw this on Twitter, that this was on Twitter. We had some people hovering around Twitter. And Z Smooth says, how can we sign Jameis Winston? Well, we can just offer him a contract. And depending on how much cap space, he either agrees or not. You can offer him a contract. And if the Steelers need to make any more room, they could restructure DeCastro and they could restructure Stephon Tuitt if they needed the space. Ezra said, our defense is so good that I feel you, Lance. We do need a better backup. You can't depend on defense to play that high a level every week in, week out for bad quarterback play to support bad quarterback play. It just does not happen. But before I go into this jump topic, please hit the like button. We've got about 50 some odd people in the live chat. Make sure everybody in the live chat is hitting the live chat. Also, hopefully everybody in the live chat, everybody listening to the program is practicing social distancing, washing your hands, and following whatever the CDC is putting out there in terms of safety protocols to help not spread the COVID-19 virus to anyone that you love. Let's make sure the nation takes care of the nation. But on Twitter, I saw this interesting topic about the 5 favorite Steelers. And I want you guys to hit the live chat hard and give me your 5 favorite Steelers. Now, I'm going to give you my 5 favorite Steelers in no particular order except for number 1. Now, I preface this by saying I'm turning 50 this year in June. My birthday is June 18th, and we definitely want to get to 6,000 subscriptions for my birthday. That would be an awesome present to me. So make sure you subscribe to the program to help me celebrate my 50th. My number 1 Steeler that I love all time is Mean Joe Green. Being a 70s baby and growing up with the Steelers when the Steelers first came to prominence as a dominant football team, Mean Joe Green is my guy. Mean Joe Green in the curtain. That's what I grew up loving. I grew up loving Mean Joe Green, man. I had a Joe Green jersey when I was 4 years old, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, Mean Joe was my man. Mean Joe was absolutely my man. So Mean Joe was my guy. That's my number 1. Now, my list is going to have like an honorable mention. So it's going to be 6. And as I'm thinking about it now and I'm talking about it now, I'm going to have a 6th as an honorable mention. My number 2 is Jerome Bussy, Jerome Bettis. Bussy is my 2nd favorite guy. And typically I don't have a lot of offensive guys because I'm a classic Steeler dude, like steel curtain, Steeler defense, knocking heads off. Bussy is my number 2 guy. I just like Jerome Bettis, man. You know, I was so happy when Jerome got the ring. I love when Bussy ran over Urlacher. I just love Jerome Bettis, man. Jerome Bettis, to me, embodied what the Steelers represented at that time. Strong, head-nosed, hard-nosed football, running the ball, beating people up on the field, beating people up in the trenches, running it down your throat, being relentless physically, punishing teams. Bussy represented all that to me. He was the Buss. Buss fit into Pittsburgh like more than I've ever seen a player from outside the organization come in. Bussy was just Pittsburgh. Bussy was everything we loved about Steeler football. Strong running game. Bussy was that dude. My number 3 guy is Troy P. Troy Polamalu was just my dude. Just watching Troy do ridiculous stuff on the football field was just absolutely dumbfounding and ridiculous because the only jerseys I have are Joe Green, Jerome Bettis, I got a Rod Woodson, but every other jersey is a Troy Polamalu jersey. I got like 5 or 6 Troy P's. Troy P is just ridiculous. And even Troy going to USC does not reduce my like for Troy Polamalu. Troy was just that dude, man. Troy was just, I mean, put the cape on the brother, man. Troy was just the most ridiculous dude I've watched play in a Steeler uniform, man. Physically gifted, instincts, hitter, just everything you want in a Steeler defender. Number 4, Hines Ward. Hines Ward was essentially a wide receiver that was a safety. And what I enjoyed most about Hines Ward was watching him knock out Ed Reed. Watching him knock Ed Reed out every other year. Also watching him knock out, I forget the linebacker's name for the Cincinnati Bengals. And the NFL essentially coming up with a Hines Ward rule because his crackback was killing people. That's why I love Hines. Outstanding receiver. I think Hines should be in the Hall of Fame. But I love the fact that Hines was knocking cats out. And I love the fact that Hines was knocking out Ed Reed. He was knocking out all bums, and the number 1 bum, Ed Reed's not a bum, but the number 1 dude on his list was Ed Reed, and I swear he knocked Ed Reed out at least 3 or 4 times. Yes, Keith Rivers was a guy from SC, and he busted Keith Rivers' jaw, knocked him out. So I love Hines because he kept knocking cats out. He was knocking bums out, taking on all bums. And Juju is his spirit animal because Juju was knocking out bums too, particularly that bum Perfect. So I love Hines Ward because he was knocking out all bums. Number 5 is Debo, James Harrison. Debo is number 5. I love Debo because Debo was just ruthless, mean, intimidating, a baller, knocking cats out, paying fines, knocking cats out, paying fines, knocking cats out, paying fines, knocking cats out. You gotta love Debo. I love Debo so much as a Steeler that I excuse the fact that he played for Cincinnati and the Patriots. Debo was just that dude. And, hey, the Steelers don't win that Super Bowl if Debo doesn't run that pass back in the Super Bowl and seal that victory and get the Steelers that big lead that they needed going into halftime. Debo is the dude. Debo is my man because Debo was intimidating. And my honorable mention is Avoid Lloyd. You see, you get a theme. You get a theme. Avoid Lloyd because Lloyd was just mean. That's why his nickname was Avoid. Avoid Lloyd. And I used to see Greg Lloyd in Nats in the Strip District having brews with a bunch of ladies as well during the 90s. And he was every bit as mean looking as he was on the field. I love me some Greg Lloyd, Avoid Lloyd. So that's my top 5. That's my top 5 and my honorable mention 6. So mine are Joe Green, Bussy, Troy P., Hines Ward, Debo, and honorable mention Avoid Lloyd. So let me go back and read some of you guys in here in your favorite lists here. So let me go down here. Sean Manahan said Jerome Bettis, Troy Polamalu, Hines Ward, Casey Hampton, and Ben Roethlisberger. I could go with that list. And I love Big Snack, especially when Big Snack knocked out Eddie George. Oh, that was a hit. I don't know if y'all remember that. You might want to look that hit up on YouTube. He knocked Eddie George smooth out. Let me go down here. Ali Howard Species 5618 says Mean Joe, Hines, Debo, Bettis, and Slash. Oh, Mr. Shinley Park Slash. I don't know if you guys remember the Shinley Park shenanigans, but if you were living in the city of Pittsburgh at the time, you remember the Shinley Park shenanigans. Robert Sasovitz said Green, Lambert, Swan, Harris, Blunt. And you cannot argue with those names. That would probably say, I would guess that Robert is my age or a little bit older because he's got a lot of the classic Steelers on that list. Faceless Man said Mean Joe, Harrison, Polamalu, Ward, and Buss. That's almost my list. Actually, that is my list. I got all those names on there. Green, Bussy. Yeah, that's my list right there. Big up to you, Faceless Man. But Faceless Man is right. There are so many guys that you could put on there. Big D63 asked me, would you rather have Landry Jones or Mason Rudolph? That's an interesting question. Yes, I would rather almost have anyone before Mason Rudolph other than Devlin Duck Hodges. Jake Sanchez said Joe Green, Troy Buss, Lambert, Woodson. Love that list. In terms of freakish athletes, too, I mean, Rod Woodson was one of the best athletes to ever play in the NFL, not only the Steelers. Love me some Rod Woodson. I have a Rod Woodson jersey as well. In fact, I'm looking for a white Rod Woodson. So if anybody of you know where I can find a white Rod Woodson, please put it in the leave a comment and a link. Cab Cole said Mean Joe, Lambert, Woodson, Hines, in the bus, and I have to put Troy the Great on the list and Mel Blunt. I said 5. I said 5, Cab Cool. I said 5. Ezra said Troy, Mean Joe, Woodson, Buss, Dermontti Dawson. Big up to you. Now that shows your thoroughness as a Steeler fan, Ezra. Dermontti was the man. Just ask Ray Lewis because he put syrup on Ray's back plenty of times. Ray Lewis has talked about just how good Dermontti Dawson was and how they had to go get a big interior lineman to keep Dermontti Dawson from putting his backside on his backside. Let me go through some more of these. Faceless Man, I think I read yours already. Snowman said Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, Mel Blunt, Mean Joe, John Stallworth. Hey, man, you can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong with that list as well. And that's one of those questions, man. There are so many great Steelers, and there's Steelers has so much success, and that's why I'm really passionate about this quarterback depth issue. They really have to address the quarterback position. It is not good enough, and it is not responsible. Again, my analogy would be if you knew you were going to get laid off, or you thought there was a chance you could get laid off, you wouldn't go to Vegas and gamble. I mean, that's what the Steelers are playing with. They are playing Russian roulette with Big Ben because they do not have a quality backup behind Big Ben. They do not at all. And none of you guys feel confident with Mason Rudolph or Devlin Duck Hodges as your backup. Somebody listed Dan Kreider as one of their favorite Steelers. Hey man, Dan was tough guy. Levon Kirkland, Dallas Quinley said Levon Kirkland. Hey, Levon was a great player. And you guys should. I mean, you guys are hopefully practicing social distancing. You guys need to be at home anyways. Just pop in the Steelers DVD, get all fired up. Maybe watch the 2008 season. I mean, I was so bored the other day. I watched the Miami playoff game from 2016 and the Kansas City game from 2016 just to see the last time that I thought the Steelers really had a chance to win a Super Bowl. Dallas Quinley also added Palomalu, Dermontti Johnson, Jerome Bettis, Hines Ward, and TJ Watt. Wow, TJ Watt makes the list already. Allie Howard Species said, you guys need to wear masks in public. No, you don't. You don't have to wear a mask in public, only if you feel sick. But if you want to, please. I'm not going to ever say that you should not do even more to keep people safe. So before we get out of here, man, make sure you like the program. Make sure you subscribe. Liking the program is free. I just want to say that. All you have to do is hit the thumbs up button on your screen. Just simply like the program. It is absolutely free. The other way you can help us is by spreading the word. Please let other people know about the program. We love doing the programs. As you can see, I'm sitting in my house with a beanie doing the program during my lunchtime, doing this program for you guys. We love doing it. Um, um, and to Ollie's point, yeah, I'm sorry, Ollie. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. Absolutely. I'm never going to ask you to not do, what you think is safe to protect yourself and protect somebody else. So definitely wear a mask if you feel like you want to do that. So yeah, we love bringing you the show. Make sure you check out the website behindthesteelcurtain.com because there is a website that supports these shows. So make sure you check out the website. Make sure you check out all the podcasts we're bringing to you. I believe we're bringing you 7. Somebody said John Whitman. That's hilarious. Make sure that you support all the programs. If you have a question, make sure you can use the super chat feature, but make sure you're liking the programs and make sure you are spreading the word. But with that, we're going to conclude the program. And as always, tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe.